Welcome back to Beach Theory.
Welcome back to Beach Theory.
What episode is this? 7?
7.
Wow.
You know, last episode.
That's a lot of episodes.
That is so far. And I'm enjoying it.
We're on a roll.
I really like talking about our history together.
Yeah, as long as we don't fight.
Our history together.
You like talking about fighting.
I like talking about fighting, I guess. Our last episode we almost fought during talking about
If you missed
fighting.
it, she punched me right in the face.
Yeah, so make sure to watch the video. Just kidding, I didn't do
I still have a black eye. And
Now you're making me sound bad.
I almost quit the podcast because she was so
Yeah,
abusive.
right. Oh my goodness.
Don't miss it.
You'll want to watch it.
Go listen.
Okay, so this episode we're going to be talking. We're going to pick up actually right where we left off. So you heard in the last episode we were talking a lot about a miracle, a crazy, amazing miracle that couldn't be explained in any other way besides a miracle.
Our heroes returned home at the end of the last episode.
That's right.
And we
returned home.
Did we still have our fifth wheel trailer? Or did we
Yes, we
sell
still
it?
had it at that point.
At that point, we still had it.
Yes.
Did we just park it?
I think we just parked it in my parents' driveway.
Yeah. So we went right to going back to school. It was time to register for school.
We got back just in time for school, and that's what most we were selling. You were selling security systems, and that was the right time for the whole business to shut down because basically they run off of college students.
And I wanted to go to school. I wanted to go to Snow College.
For the first time.
I'd never been to Snow.
He didn't ever feel like, this is what I want to major in, and this is what I want to go to school in. The only reason he went to school was because, number one, he got FAFSA, and it was free.
Free school. Why
And number
not?
two, he didn't really want to learn anything that he didn't want to learn, so he just got classes that he liked.
So that first semester, I took like math and chemistry. I took like all these like required classes.
Yeah.
Because I figured, might as well get that taken care of. I guess I really didn't know what I want.
Yeah, he didn't know what he
So I
wanted.
took
He just
tons-
was
I think
doing
I
all
took,
sorts
like,
of things.
I think I started at like 18 credits or something crazy
It was
like
crazy.
that. I was like, I could do this. I could do this.
And then you dropped out of chemistry.
We both did. We were taking it together.
Were we? Ugh.
I remember we were taking it together.
Chemistry.
We were also taking yoga together.
Yes.
And you dropped out of yoga
because
of your pregnancy.
And I dropped out of it mostly because my mom had high risk pregnancies, and she had 9 kids, and I was on my first kid, and I was the first daughter to have, or first kid in the family to have any grandkids, and so my mom was like, "Hey, I just have to warn you, your pregnancies could be very high risk, just like mine were, and you're built a lot like me, so I'm just saying you should be very cautious." So I was like terrified of doing any physical activity or overdoing anything or feeling tired. Even
I think this was a sore spot for us because I remember I remember that first pregnancy.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking a lot of your struggles that you're going through right now are probably all made up. Like, I didn't think that you were pretending to be sick. I believe that you were really sick, but I only believed that you were sick because you were convinced that you needed to be sick because you're pregnant.
This is one
like
of
a
those things.
self-fulfilling prophecy.
Oh my goodness.
Right?
You talking about that made me remember one of the items on the list from the last episode of things that made me angry with Michael.
It was all in your head.
He would say that. I was sick. I was throwing up in the toilet, and he'd say, "It's all in your head. If you just think I'm not sick, it'll go away." And I was like, "Oh, thanks for the advice." I'm sure if I just think I'm not sick, I won't be sick.
But the thing is, like, when we were at Snow College, I remember you being like, "Oh, I don't know if I can do this thing." And I remember thinking,
I was still
just
sick
tell yourself
all
that you
through that
can.
pregnancy, though.
like, you have to, it's all in your head. Just convince yourself that you can do it. You'll be fine.
He doesn't, by
you
the
will.
way, he doesn't use that terminology anymore because we've had many a conversation about whether it's all in my head or not. It's like if you think of the worst you've ever felt in your life and how you feel like you should go to the hospital. And I was like, it's all in your head. If you just think it's all in your head, you'll get better.
So
And it's like, that just kind of makes you, what does it do? It kind of
infuriates.
Well,
you.
not only infuriates you, but it
Invalidates
takes the validation
I get
away. You never get you never feel validated, or like what you're going through is real. And so you're crazy. Like it makes you feel like, oh, you're just a crazy person.
You can't deny that there have been situations where you could admit that something you were experiencing was just in your head.
Name one.
No, I'm not joking you right now.
Okay, but can you name one?
Give me a second. No, I believe there have...
Now here's the part where we get in a fight on camera.
No, this isn't
just
a fight.
kidding. It's not a fight.
No, nothing's come to mind right
See
now.
what I mean?
But that's not to say that it didn't ever happen. Like, I believe it. I
do believe that to an extent.
Thank you. I feel validated.
To an extent. That is
No,
the
you're
key.
right. To an extent is absolutely true.
Yes.
I was raised in my family. My dad would say that to us regularly.
Yes.
It's all in your head. It's all in your head. And so I believe that because there have been times in my life where I felt like I can control my emotions. I can control how I'm feeling right now because how I'm feeling and what I'm doing is just in my head.
So take into account, he had been raised that way. That was his norm. And that's how he dealt with things that he couldn't say, I feel your pain, or I can't understand why you feel that way. His way of saying that, he didn't say, I can't understand why you feel that way. He would say, it's all in your head. Like, that's not a real problem because it's not a real problem for me. Like, that's how his opinion was.
Okay.
So coming into our marriage, he had only up until when I was pregnant seen me be a completely normal, happy,
how were you raised?
Active person.
Right. And
then when I got pregnant, he was like, you're a completely different person. This obviously is all in your head. Like that was what made sense to him. That was how you explained my being a different person or being so sick.
Right. And
I think deep down, the conclusion we've come to is that what he meant by saying it's all in your head is, I don't know how to help you, and I'm not feeling what you're feeling right now.
I think it doesn't help that I would see you acting one way, and then all of a sudden someone would suggest something, and then all of a sudden that would begin to manifest.
And I do have to say, I was a lot more dramatic when we were first married. And I would exaggerate more than like just my family in general exaggerates things more than Michael's family. So he was raised that way and I was raised this way. And then he would be like, you just lied. And I was like, I didn't lie. And he's like, no, it's a lie. When you exaggerate, it's a lie. And I was like, oh, so like that was one of those things that we had to kind of work through. Right. And that was difficult for him and difficult for me because I was like, I'm a good person. Like I don't lie. But to him, exaggerating was lying.
I still believe that.
And so over the years, I think both of us have kind of compromised.
I've learned that I can't take what is said literally. I have to be able to read between the lines and tone it down to what probably actually happened.
With most of my family, but do you do that with me now?
Not anymore, because you've gotten better.
Well, I think
I fixed you.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Here comes the punch to the eyeball that you lied about in the last episode. You lie. See what I mean? He's become more like me. He's the exaggerator now, and I'm telling the truth.
I'm not exaggerating.
You said I punched you in the last episode. That's exaggerating.
No, that's was a straight up lie. That was not even it. But it was meant to be comical, you know?
See what I mean, though? We've traded places. Now I'm like, Michael, you're lying.
That's okay. That's all right. I'll admit it. I don't fight it, though.
The thing is, like, we're joking. We're kind of fighting. Not really. But the thing is, we are able to get our points across to each other really well nowadays. Like, and it took a long time. Like, that wasn't how it was from the very beginning. Like,
we used to be sarcastic with each other.
That was our way of communicating. Like,
if there was something we didn't like, we would say something sarcastically in kind of a humorous, joking way.
Yes.
Because we didn't know how else to approach it.
So I can even think of an example of that. Like, I would be so infuriated that you would say, hey, pregnancy is all in your head. Like, or the sickness is all in your head. You just think you're not sick and it will go away. And so that would make me so furious that I would wait for a time when something that you would say would be completely logical. Right. And I would say, oh, it's all in your head.
Right.
And then you'd look at me kind of like, ugh. And then I'd be like, heh. And then we just kind of like sarcastically go back and forth with each other so that I could get my point across that, hey, what I'm experiencing is not all in my head. And just like what you just said is not all in your head. It's a real thing.
Right.
Yeah. That's kind of how we communicated back then. And every now and then still.
Right.
Especially in this podcast for some reason.
I think we're reliving our I do too. Beginnings, and it's bringing up memories, and I think it's bringing out emotions that we've moved past and moved on from. Not that we've like buried or anything, but we've literally we've grown and we've changed and we've improved, and that's no longer an issue.
Well, okay, for example, the last episode I talked too much. And Michael was like, after the episode was over, he's like, hey, you didn't let me get a word in edgewise. I mean, he did talk too, but I guess I was just kind of taking it over, not even realizing that I was taking it over, just taking it over. But like, if it were in the podcast, I might defend my stance, or like, I don't know, when other people are around, I might act a little bit differently and defend my stance and
you don't like getting called out.
But
even when it's true.
But in person, see, and that's a good thing to communicate with too. Like, even when it makes you bad, it makes you look bad. It's okay, like, because we still love each other.
Right.
It's okay if I look bad and we talk about something that makes me look bad. But after the podcast, I was like, I'm really sorry. Like, I didn't mean to talk that much. Like, so we've come up with a system and we've compromised. Like, it's okay. We're going to figure it out one thing at a time. And we just have learned that if something bothers either one of us, we need to bring it up.
Yeah. It's a good thing we have our sound engineer, Cody Crabb, to referee.
I am neutral. I'm Switzerland.
Who's right? Which way should we do it?
Who is best?
I think there's been some great arguments today.
He's hashtag Team Michael.
My question is, how many of these things have you been through? All of these conversations. Yeah.
I think when we get to season 2, after we've kind of caught up with our history, I want to do a series of like interviewing
people in
other married couples and get some pointers and tips that they've learned. Like, hey,
everybody's got
give us like your 5 best
learned.
Lessons that you've learned in your marriage that you could share with our audience.
Yeah. And you know what else I want to do? I want to bring the kids in and ask them about their experiences growing up with YouTube.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a really interesting subject.
Well, that's just life for them.
That's norm. That's their norm. But to other people, that is really weird.
Yeah.
To me, that's really weird. Like, I was not raised that way.
James was not even a year old when we started filming.
Yep.
So, but we'll talk about that in a later podcast.
We'll talk about that later.
Because that's an exciting time.
Yes.
But for now, you're pregnant. We're going to Snow College.
Yes.
I'm doing yoga and all sorts of fun stuff.
I think I only took 2 classes that semester. I took math and yoga. And I got out of
chemistry, and you dropped chemistry.
I dropped chemistry. I dropped math,
yoga.
And I dropped yoga. And by the end of the semester, I was no longer going to school.
I think you were just like, I want to do this, I was
due I had James February 8th. And it was around December or November that I was like,
it was the fall semester you didn't go. Did you go back spring semester?
Yes, but...
So James was born mid-spring semester. I don't think you would have gone back.
No. We went back the semester after that.
So you took a whole year off then?
Basically, yeah.
Okay, so because you took fall...
I tried, though. And that's what's important.
So when we got back from Denver, where were we living?
We started mooching off of family at a very...
early stage. Right after that summer.
We
came back dirt poor with nothing to show for the work.
It was not good.
I remember they made a lot of promises when I was getting ready to sell the security systems.
It's going to be the best thing of your life.
I made $80,000 last summer.
Yeah.
You just work all summer and then go to school, and you don't even have to work because you just made so much money in the summer.
Yep. And for a lot of people, that was true.
But I'm not a very good salesman.
And that took a long time to figure out for both of us.
I think I wanted to be a good salesman.
He wanted it. He loved doing it.
I love the
process.
He
just was not good at it.
It's not like I was awkward or weird or anything. I think it was just that I have a hard time like
pressuring people
and pressure. Yeah, like I remember going with other people to see how they do their presentation, and it's like a big song and dance and a show, and like there's like a straight up production and acting, and I'm just very real with people.
And you'll tell the truth even if it makes you not get a sale.
Right.
Yep.
And these guys, it's like all about the sale. And to me, it was all about making sure that the customer was happy.
Yep.
And when you go in with that attitude and you don't really like I don't know. I just didn't do a very good job. People.
So remember this
didn't wanna buy
conversation
any.
because he does a lot of sales jobs later.
Yeah,
Well,
I did.
And it
I
took
didn't
a
quit
long time to
'cause
figure
I
out.
Figured I'll get the hang of it eventually.
At that time, his attitude, like now we're able to look at it and go, okay, we can reevaluate what was good and what was bad and what we learned and if we should do that again. But at the time, he was so like, I love sales jobs. I want to do this forever. I'm going to be the best salesman ever. While we were not making any money for months and months and months. And he was doing all the research. He was doing all the things that he felt like he should. But he was just bad at it.
Yeah.
And we came to that conclusion. And that was a hard conclusion to come to.
It was that fall, I think. Yeah, so that same fall that we were going to Snow College and we were mooching. We were living in the same house that my dad and stepmom had lived in when I first came to Mount Pleasant after my mission.
They had moved to a different house in town.
And we were living there.
Yep.
And all by ourselves. It was actually really nice. We had a whole
big house. They said, hey, just pay utilities. And we were like,
we were so poor that we kept the heater off on the whole house.
Yeah.
And all we had was a space heater in our bedroom, and we like never left our bedroom.
Which I wonder if that even saved us money, honestly. It probably would have been better.
But because we couldn't afford
we couldn't
electricity
afford that.
and all that stuff.
At that point,
not working. I was
you
just
didn't have a
school.
job. You did not have a job.
But we did
have financial aid, FAFSA from.
We were living off of
our school funds.
We didn't take any student loans though. We just got grants,
which was a very smart thing. The
Pell Grant,
by the way,
was great.
Free money.
Yeah.
Well, you have to go to school for it.
But that same fall, we signed up to try and sell Isogenics,
which was something that now you're doing again. But
I loved it.
At the time, you're like, this is going to solve all of our problems. Let's be a salesman for this.
At the time, we did it because it's really healthy and it was helping you with your pregnancy to not feel so sick.
Yeah, if I could get it down without puking it all up, because it was expensive to us. It was like $1 a shake or something. Yeah. And I was like, that's a lot to puke up. Oh, it's sad when you have to think, how much is this food how many dollars are going down the toilet literally right now?
And I was taking any and all money that we had made, and I was putting it into buying Isogenics products, and I was trying to sign up everybody. And I signed up quite a few people and made some decent, enough to pay for itself.
It was enough to pay for itself. We broke even.
But barely.
That was the constant between moment. All of the sales jobs was breaking even.
Oh, and I was also taking a swimming class at Snow College.
And he was the Michael Phelps of Snow College.
Well, it was hilarious because
he started winning every single class race and all these things.
I've always considered myself relatively athletic.
Yeah.
And I never knew the proper way to swim.
No.
I grew up in Florida and I went swimming all the time, but I didn't know all
how
the different strokes. How to swim away from
alligators.
I didn't know about rhythmic breathing. I didn't know all the things of how to swim properly with good form.
Yeah.
But I learned that at Snow College and I absolutely loved it. And
I'm not kidding. He was very good at it. So good that just a year or two ago, he was at a public swimming pool swimming just to exercise.
Yeah.
And this guy.
That was 6 years ago.
And this guy. No, it wasn't.
It was a while ago. Yeah.
No way. It was when we were in Brookside.
Okay, maybe 5 years ago.
He was at the swimming pool. He was swimming. And this guy came up and he's like, I've been watching you for a long time. Where did you train? And how many years of swimming did you do? I've been in competitions my whole life. And you're really good. Form. Yeah. And he's like, I just took a class in college. That's all I've done.
He's like,
I'm just practicing.
You could be a professional.
He's like, you have no idea. You have perfect form and you're so good at this. If you would have competed, you would have done so amazing. And Michael's just like,
missed opportunity. Now I'm old.
And now that's why we got to make sure our kids get all these opportunities that we didn't get.
But I still love swimming, even to this day.
It's so great.
So
you're good at it.
I'm actually training to do a triathlon.
Yeah. And we are getting way off subject.
Well, I was talking about swimming. I took swimming classes at Snow College. And that was fun.
That's true.
And I just hey, who wants to race with me? And everybody was like, no, I don't want to race with you because you're too fast. Except there was one girl in the class who'd been swimming her whole life. Yeah. And she was also really fast.
Yes. And you.
But we were right about the same.
Her.
I think I might have beat her by quarter of a second, just barely.
But
maybe she was.
But I remember you would come home and you'd be like, "Guess what? Guess what? I've been winning everybody in my class because I have perfect form, or I've just been doing really good." And it was like, "Wow, that's incredible."
Yeah.
It's cool when you find a talent that you didn't know you had your whole life.
Yeah.
But you're really good at it. That's awesome.
And I just really loved it.
So after we got back and we were mooching off of family. All we had to pay was utilities. That means that they were paying the mortgage on that house.
I think they owned it or something.
Yeah, they owned it, but they were paying the mortgage still. And we were just paying utilities and mooching off of it. And it was good. That was
we got a lot of free clothes for the baby.
That was another miracle. Like we just from everywhere, I would just pray because we had nothing. We had no money. We had nothing extra. All of our furniture was free from KSL. Like it was just free furniture or family. That was it.
Like
the
baby clothes that we got at garage sales, bagfuls.
Yes, and all the dishes we had were from our wedding. Like the bags we got of clothes, I mean, that was a miracle. And all of the baby things that I had, some random people that I knew growing up would just come up and be like, hey, do you need any baby stuff? I'm done having kids and I have all this really nice brand new stuff. And I was like, yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Like it was every time I needed it, it's almost like I would just say a prayer and then somebody would just show up with the things that I needed. And it was like, wow, we are really being taken care of by Heavenly Father, you know. It was really cool. And then where are we at?
Oh, we're fine.
Okay. So then having the baby came closer and closer. I had dropped out of yoga and dropped out of math and dropped out of chemistry and was no longer going to school while Michael was. I would stay home every single day eating Hot Pockets and orange juice. I don't know why, but that's what James is made out of. His whole body is just made out of orange juice and Hot Pockets.
I think that
we were living off of food stamps.
Right.
That was actually at that point.
Yeah, I remember
the school funds weren't cutting it, and we were just needing food stamps to even eat.
I think that about covers the fall. Maybe we should go ahead and just talk about James' birth.
Yeah, so he was born in February 8th,
He was 2010. The first. He was the only of all of the kids that we've had so far where your water broke naturally.
Yes. And you know, that's actually a pretty rare thing to have your water break.
Is it?
Yeah. The more I look into it, the more people are like, oh, that's like the typical way that they portray it in movies, but that doesn't happen that often, actually.
Yeah. I just remember your water broke and you were like, it was like midnight.
Yes. And
that's all. So you got your bag of
Wait, do you know
stuff.
why I looked at you that way?
Yes. That's all. Okay, so you grabbed your bag and we went straight to the
I want to say it.
You don't need to say it.
Well, my water broke.
Yeah, Rebecca, it's unnecessary. I'm not joking.
What's the point of not saying it now?
I know, right.
Why do you have to push so hard?
I don't know. It was just because I had to have a baby, and you have to push hard when you have a baby.
She thought she was going to die.
Oh, yes.
We had a great doctor, though.
We had a really good doctor.
Oh, and your mom was filming the birth, and she was filming like the entire process.
5 hours worth.
And
because it was only 5 hours, which is really quick for a first baby.
Minutes before James came out completely, the camera died.
So we have no footage of him actually coming out, which
I think the footage stopped as his head was just coming.
Keep in mind, this was not advertiser-friendly filming. Like, this was straight on, waiting for the baby's head to pop out, like, the whole time.
Yeah. But I was it was like, what, 4 o'clock in the morning or something by the time he was born?
Well, my water broke at midnight. And
I just remember you laying on the bed just like napping in between contractions.
Oh, I was so tired.
Just like so
And I didn't know what I was doing. Like the first one, I was like, they would say like, push, basically use the muscles that you use to poop to try and push the baby out. Because that's what you do. That is a completely normal, natural thing. And I don't know why, but it was really hard for me to do that. And I tore like when he did come out, like, and I had to get like 3 stitches or something. Not too many, but it was enough. Or it might have been like 6 stitches. It was enough
too much.
It was enough that when the 6 weeks were over of
recovery. Did you really tear with James?
Yes.
I thought it was Corbin that you tore with.
I didn't tear with Corbin. I tore with Ellie a tiny bit, and I tore with James.
Maybe James was the worst.
He was the worst for sure.
He was the worst birth, the worst pregnancy.
Man.
And And he just
and
cried
he
a lot.
birthed 2 parents out of us.
I thought you were gonna say, and the worst kid now.
No, not the worst.
No.
They're all equally worse.
He's a great kid.
Just kidding. They're all
he is
equally
a
good.
really good boy.
Yeah, he is.
But I remember, anyway, I just remember after he was born, like, he just was fussy and whiny all the time. And he never wanted to be held and snuggled.
I truly believe he was just as fussy as all of our other kids, but it was our first experience with the baby. And so it seemed like it was way more than with all the other kids. That's what I think.
I disagree. But we have pictures. So to any of you listening on online, just the audio track, make sure that if you're interested in seeing some photos, because I think
have a picture of me when I was like halfway or something.
In almost every one of these videos, we're gonna do pictures.
Yes,
I want to do like fun
of all of the
throughout
things
the video.
We talk about.
Pictures,
if we have pictures, we'll use them
because we will. We'll have pictures of dating and pictures of marriage and pictures of pregnancy and pictures of birth and I think it'll be cool.
Well, I have a picture even of me going through the hand-me-down clothes that
all
people
on
were
YouTube.
giving to me.
On Beach Theory on YouTube, if you want to see the video and the pictures there.
And I was so like, honestly, the whole time growing up, I lived off of hand-me-down clothes. For one, we had a huge family. And so it was either Jennifer, my older sister, that I would get her clothes from, or because we weren't always the same size, I would just get bags of clothes from people in our ward, our church, that would send it to our house because I think they knew that we needed it. And we did. That was literally our school clothes. That was like, we were lucky if we got new clothes when school started, like one new pair. Like that was like, wow, I got a new pair of clothes. This is so amazing. Now it's like not that big of a deal, and I do it all the time, and I get the kids new clothes all the time. Like it's not that big of a deal because we've made it a really big priority to make sure our kids don't look homeless or whatever, but only because we have the means to. Before that, we just got what we got and we didn't throw a fit, and that's how it was, that was just life. That was just how it was. Yeah.
So I remember the hospital. It was really nice. Like it felt like we were just on vacation. Like after the baby was born. Always felt like that.
That's why I never want to have a baby at home.
You get food delivered to you, and they take care of you and the baby. And
so nice. It's nice.
It's a good experience.
But we went there. It took from midnight to 4 to have him. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was falling asleep between contractions. I think that was the most painful one. I don't know if I had as much of an epidural at the end as all of my other ones.
Yeah.
Like it was really hard. It was really difficult. And then just becoming parents after that was, I don't know, like I can't explain how becoming a parent changes you, other than it forces you to become a certain way. You have to become patient more than you were, unless you're a super patient person. Like I was not a super patient person.
I remember being impatient a lot.
It was very, very hard to be patient with a crying baby, and like one that you're trying your very hardest to keep alive and happy, and it's not working. Or I mean they're still alive but they're not happy.
Why is it crying so much?
And James was never really one to cuddle. He didn't really like to be held.
Never.
Like except for when he was baby where he couldn't push away.
He was brand new.
Like obviously.
But as soon as he had like the ability to move at all, he was always pushing away.
He didn't really want to be held. He wasn't very cuddly. And Michael's a very cuddly person. So I think...
It was offensive.
I think he took offense to that. Like literally, even though he's a baby.
I know. But that's part of my immaturity too.
That's right. Like we were young. Like I think
naive.
that in our marriage, we've always been pretty good at learning to communicate, or at least making compromises and making sure that we're communicating with each other. But when it comes to parenthood, that I think is where our immaturity showed the most.
Right, definitely.
And we were young.
And
I was 20 and you were 23.
I think it was hard too because like we were so in love and so excited about getting married. And the minute we got like weeks after we got married, then you're sick for 9 months.
And he's like, who's this person? You've changed since we're married.
As soon as you're not sick anymore, now you're feeling better. But now like all of your time and attention is dedicated to this baby.
Yeah.
I remember being quite jealous.
Yeah.
Because
which is interesting Right? Now saying it out loud, that sounds so silly.
I know. It's just
it
so
sounds
dumb.
silly.
Yeah.
But at the time, that was a legitimate like feeling.
I remember being jealous that you were giving James all the attention, and I remember being jealous that James had no affection. Like no,
he wasn't trying.
He didn't want to be hugged. He just cried all the time.
Yeah. Michael has had a very soft spot for the kids in our family that are more cuddly.
Hey,
like,
if a kid,
it's just a natural thing. It's not that he loves one more than the other.
No,
at all.
Not at all. If any one of the kids at any time comes up and just sits on my lap or just hugs me and just wants to be next to me,
He's not going to push him away. Ever.
No, never. But I literally, it's like the complete opposite. Like I'll just melt and I'll do anything for them. But
it's like, oh.
But I just don't think they've figured that out yet.
I need to tell them all the secrets about you. Give them all the inside scoop so they know what to do. Just kidding.
Because when I don't get that, I'm just like, I'm pretty stern. I'm pretty strict.
Yeah.
I'm kind of no nonsense when it comes to the kids.
But you don't always naturally show your affection to them. I think.
I try.
I think you're the type of person, though, that you kind of wait to see what they're going to do, and then you kind of imitate what they do.
Maybe.
Like, you're not always instigating.
I'm not the perfect dad. Surprise, surprise.
And I'm not the perfect mom. I lose my temper. I'm not always so patient, even though we have a lot of kids, and you'd think that I would have gotten it by now, but
we're learning.
I think we are getting better, though. We're not getting worse.
No, not getting worse.
We're getting better. So that's good.
Yeah, we're definitely getting better.
As long as we're moving forward.
But this is kind of a glaring realization reflecting on James and just how immature and naive we were, and how little we knew,
and I have to say something,
how bad at parenting we were, or at least me, for sure.
Oh man, I look back at that time and I'm just like, wow, we really didn't know very much. We really didn't. We thought we knew everything. I mean, when have we not thought we've known everything?
But isn't that just like the nature of humanity? I mean, James is 8 and he thinks he knows everything.
Yes.
Right? But that's just not going to change.
Well, and I think that
even
I
when
remind
he was a baby,
you of,
he thought he knew everything. I remember.
Something I remind you and me of sometimes is like, has there ever been a time in your life, even when you were a kid, that you felt like, oh, I'm dumb?
No.
Or, oh, I don't know stuff? Like, no, it's
no
just a different level. You're just at a different level.
You're smart,
yes.
and you're aware, and you're intelligent.
You're capable.
Right.
You feel capable.
Absolutely.
No matter how old you are.
Right.
And so I think kids feel that exact same way. And I think when kids get treated like a kid, like sometimes
that's when they start to act out.
Like not so much treated like a kid. Like there's certain responsibilities kids have or don't have.
Right.
But when they feel patronized, when they feel like, oh, you're just a kid, you don't know. That's infuriating.
You're worthless, right?
And I remember being a kid and being told that. And I remember getting mad and thinking, you're basically telling me I know nothing.
Right.
And that's not true. I know I'm smart. I know I'm capable, you know?
And the thing is, to ourselves we are. And we're continually learning and getting smarter and growing. Yeah. And even now I'm like, man, I'm smart. I have so much to share with the world. I'm going to start a podcast and tell everyone how amazing and how much I've learned. But like literally in 10 years from now, I'm going to look back on myself and be like, wow, how naive and how immature, right?
No, I don't think so.
Well, that's how I look at myself 10 years ago. Like,
you need to stop it because you are capable. You are smart. You are, what is that? That quote from The Help? You is kind.
Right? But no, like, and I don't look at it like in a demeaning way, like, oh, how dumb, I'm a terrible person. But like, just like, I recognize my imperfections.
Yeah.
And I recognize that I've grown a lot and improved a lot.
I think what's important is to never look back and go, wow, I was dumb. Or wow, I knew nothing.
Well, that's what we've been doing this whole time.
No, but at the same time, we knew what we were doing. We knew it would be hard. Like we knew in order to grow, we had to do those things. We weren't like so naive that we had no idea. And our child, like we kept him alive.
He's still alive.
We knew enough.
We did it. I guess we did enough. Yeah.
And he's a good kid.
Yeah, he is.
He's a very good kid. So I guess I just look at it and I think, if I can look back at myself and say, wow, I was smart, I was capable, I was kind, you is kind, then like, I don't know, I want to be able to look at my kids that exact same way and say, hey, there's nothing wrong with you.
No.
You have nothing wrong. You know, you are completely capable. You are so smart. And all I know is that I'm just at a different level of experience than you are. I just have more experience than you. That's the only difference. I'm not smarter.
Well, if you want to take it to the next level, and what we believe in our religion is that we were spirits before we came to this earth and got a body, and his spirit and our spirits are brothers.
Yeah.
And we're for all we know,
your brother. I'm a brother, a sister to his
sister
brother.
spirit. He's my brother's spirit, but for all we know, his spirit could be older and even know more than me, right?
Yeah, I guess that's true.
But on earth, I'm his parent.
Yeah.
But still, we're brothers in spirit, and I need to not treat him with disrespect.
Yeah.
And I need to just appreciate him for who he is.
I mean, have you ever had a time in your life, no matter the age, where you have felt patronized and felt like that was justified? No, I haven't.
Yeah.
Like, that's never, ever been something that I've been like,
unless I was being obnoxious. There's been a few times where I've been obnoxious and people called me out, and I'm like, I was being a brat. You do dumb
things, but you know that you did a dumb thing.
Right.
It's not like, you don't feel like, oh, I did a dumb thing and I had no idea, and now I'm being patronized. Right. You know, it's like you do a dumb thing and you know it's a dumb thing.
Right. That's true.
And you know you're smart enough to know better, but you do it anyway or whatever. You know, we're all here to learn, but there's never a time, even when I was the very smallest I can even remember, that if somebody patronized me, I felt like that was justified.
Right.
It was never justified, because I've always been smart. I've always been capable.
And you are smart.
And that's why every kid on earth is smart
and they
capable.
need to feel appreciated for their intelligence.
Yes.
No matter what level they're
exactly.
on. I agree.
Because we're just on different levels. That's the only thing. We're not smarter. We're not more capable. We all came here with, I guess, the same set of tools. Mm-hmm. And that means that not all of us, actually. Some people are blessed with more. Some people are blessed with more, like physically, or they actually like have things, I don't know, that they, a family that has more money or something like that. But I'm talking like mentally, or like, I don't know, even people with like Down syndrome or something, like they have they're on a different level, but that doesn't mean they're dumb.
Right.
That doesn't mean they're incapable.
You're right.
And in some things, I guess they might be incapable, but they're not dumb. They're not worthless. So anyways.
Yep. That was a good episode. Thanks for tuning in, you guys. Yeah. We talked about a lot today, and next week, in next week's episode, do you know what we're going to talk about?
Not yet. What are we going to talk about? Other than the things that happen next in our life.
We're going to talk about what happened next. The summer after James was born, we moved to Oregon, and we lived in the woods, primitively.
With a 4-month-old. That was one of the worst experiences of my life, I'm not going to lie.
So stay tuned for that story, you guys.
Let's talk about the worst experience of my life.
Make sure to subscribe on YouTube to Beach Theory, or you can follow us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or Anchor.
Yes.
And all the places
also,
if
you're just listening to the podcast, we have pictures inserted in our channel Beach Theory on YouTube. So if you want to see pictures of what we're actually talking about, what we looked like when we had no idea what we were doing as parents.
Good times.
And what James looked like as a baby.
Pre-bearded Michael.
Yes.
When I looked like I was 15.
Yes. And I looked like I was 12.
You can go watch that on YouTube.
Yes, go watch that on YouTube. Also, if you have any comments or questions or things that you think we should talk about that would be a controversial subject.
Or if you have any questions and you want us to elaborate on any of the topics we covered today, make sure to leave us a comment on YouTube. Or you can even leave voice comments, I think, on Anchor. And we can include that in a future episode when we cover that. So
that would be
leave us some feedback. We'd love to hear from you guys.
Yes.
And until next time, we'll see you guys later.
All right. Bye.
Bye.